records are made to be broken. As long as people still pick up and enjoy these games, there will be someone pushing it to new limits. This is very evident in F-Zero GX, which has an astonishing amount of history and lore behind it. Some records, however, would stand the test of time. On this list, we'll be counting down the top 5 longest-lasting F-Zero GX world records for the max speed playstyle. Welcome to F-Zero GX Time Attack History. The first entry on our list comes from Japan, and it would be one of the most influential max speed records of all time. Introducing Jakester, a Japanese GX player who set a number of incredibly strong world records with Fat Shark throughout 2005, 2006, and 2007. One of Jakester's greatest records makes number 5 on this list, and it would take place on Sand Ocean Lateral Shift. Lateral Shift is known for its sadistic track design, featuring many points where the track is abruptly cut off. Players must quickly react before falling off the track. With some consistent practice, memorizing the correct path wasn't too challenging to do. Shortly after GX released in 2003, keen-eyed F-Zero players would notice that the Lateral Shift Staff Ghost seemed to gain a speed boost from the cut-off track segments. The ghost appeared to be driving off the edge, then quickly strafing back on. We now know that this is one of many different ways for players to perform a shift boost. Mumu would use shift boost to bring the lateral shift record down to a solid 1 minute 36.046 seconds on December 12, 2003. In February of the next year, the record would be taken from an unlikely contender, being a Canadian player from MFO forums. His name was Mr. Monkey Man, and he was one of the first people to harness the power of momentum throttle to gain a lot more speed from the shift boosts. Monkey Man improved the record to 1 minute 35.780 seconds on February 5, 2004, which seemed to spark something within him. The next day, he would improve the record by 7 seconds with a time of 1 minute 28.546 seconds. Monkey Man would eventually settle on a time of 1 minute 25.388 seconds a week later on February 13th. There was still plenty of time to be saved through better shift boost timing and momentum throttle optimization. 3 days later, Mumu would reclaim his record, matching Mr. Monkey Man with a faster 1 minute 25 seconds. From there, Mumu continued to set numerous max speed world records throughout the next 10 days, eventually bringing the time to 1 minute 15.926 seconds. On September 4, 2007, lateral shift would be pushed further than anyone thought possible. Jakester would shock the GX community with an unbelievable lateral shift improvement, revealing a replay of the new world record of 1 minute 4.475 seconds. On top of that, this run opted to use no boost power, making it the first GX world record to ever do so. Being in a boost state can oftentimes hinder the speed gain from performing shift boosts, so opting for no boost power actually made sense. Players who saw the run were absolutely amazed by the skill of Jakester. It was clear from the start that this record would last a very long time. In fact, it would take almost 8 years for Jakester's record to be beaten, and it would take an equally legendary run to do it. Introducing CGN of Norway. CGN is one of the most influential players in GX history, inspiring countless people to try out the game. CGN started uploading his snaking runs around 2008 and began claiming snaking world records within only a few years. CGN would eventually branch out more into the max speed category and laid his claim on many of the greatest world records of all time. In 2015, CGN set his sights on the prestigious max speed world record on lateral shift. Around this time, top max speed players were starting to implement a new type of momentum throttle called Boost MT. This technique involves activating boost power while keeping the accelerator off. This can be used to great effect when the player is already going at incredible speeds. CGN decided to ignore this for now and opt for no boost power usage, just as Jakester had done in her run. On July 28, 2015, he achieved his goal. CGN set a new record of 1 minute 3.831 seconds, but this was only the beginning. CGN continued to push the limit and beat his record 2 more times on the following day. The record was now a 1 minute 3.115 seconds, beating Jakester's run by an entire second. CGN was determined to do better, as he had many runs on pace for 1 minute 1 second. The grind would pay off a week later on August 4th, where CGN busted out with a time of 1 minute 2.480 seconds, almost a full second time saved from his previous record. CGN would rate his overall satisfaction with the run as 8.3 out of 10, as his sum of best splits was over a second faster around the 1 minute range. In the video description, CGN expresses a desire to improve the record, but this would not be the case. To this very day, no one has beaten CGN's 1 minute 2 seconds. This makes for quite a long-standing world record in itself. The next entry on our list is another Fat Shark time, and it also comes from Japan. Introducing Brave, a Japanese player who's been playing F-Zero GX since December 2007. Brave quickly improved at the game and was able to reach a level of driving proficiency never seen before. Brave really made a name for himself on July 17, 2009, where he passed Iowa's legendary Trident record of 1 minute 45.857 seconds. For most of his time playing, Brave would adhere to the Japanese max speed standards, which restricts side attacking and Quickstar G4. Despite not using side attacks, Brave would quickly take many max speed world records in his playing time. Fat Shark was usually the vehicle of choice for Brave, as side attacks aren't as beneficial for that machine. On December 29, 2012, Brave would end the year with an incredible new record on Lightning Halfpipe. Halfpipe is a divisive track that features a unique gimmick of being an actual halfpipe. At any point, the machine can drive out of the pipe, ending the run in its tracks. Of course, some players use this to their advantage by executing numerous dives throughout each lap. This is much easier said than done. The weird gravity of the halfpipe can oftentimes interfere with the machine by skewing its angle or dragging it back down to the track. Players had to find where it was most optimal to perform these dives, and they had to be executed with extreme precision. Another interesting feature of the track is the double shift boost at the starting line of the track. Shortly after the first boost plate, the track expands outward, creating a sudden drop for racers. Driving over the drop at an extremely precise speed will consistently give the machine a double shift boost, immediately propelling the machine to over 2,000 kilometers per hour. Coincidentally, Fat Shark would have a consistent setup for the trick, on top of being the best choice on the track at max speed settings. Brave's 1 minute 57 seconds would stand for 8 years and 6 months, and it will likely stand as the non-side attack record for many years to come. In a surprising turn of events, this record was beaten only a few weeks before the time of writing this. On July 26, 2021, the half-pipe world record would be beaten by the Australian player Hulme with a time of 1 minute 55.505 seconds. Hulme started playing around 2014, and he would improve at a fast rate. quickly working his way into top-level play. Within only a few years, he was a prime candidate for any of the max speed world records. In this case, it was Lightning Halfpipe. The strategy is mostly the same among the two runs, except for some differences in where they went for the off-track shift boosts. Hulme utilizes a few side attacks before landing some of his dives, allowing him to gain a little extra speed. Brave would go on to say that even if he used side attacks, he thinks Hulme's run would be a bit faster. The next record to make the list comes from France, making it the first entry to be set outside of Japan. In fact, it was set by the max speed world champion for the time, Ioma. Ioma started uploading his time attack runs only a couple years after GX released in 2005. Ioma would improve at an astonishing rate, quickly overtaking many of Mumu and JKL's max speed world records. Within the first couple of years of playing, Ioma managed to reach the #1 spot in the max speed rankings. On top of setting numerous max speed records, Ioma innovated in several different ways. Unlike many top players at the time, Ioma had no issue with using Quickstar G4 and side attacking to set top max speed records. Quickstar excels at the most advanced techniques in the game. In particular, Quickstar touts the strongest momentum turbo slide in the game. This combination of traits allows the machine to perform multiple MTS in quick succession. This tactic would eventually be called MTS chaining. MTS chaining would be especially useful on tracks that don't provide a lot of boost power to the player. On November 2006, Ioma would really show Quickstar's potential on Green Plant Spiral. Green Plant Spiral is the 5th track in the AX Cup, and it is the longest track in F-Zero GX. In 2004, a number of shortcuts would be discovered by American player Midiman. The skips were pretty precise, but can be done if the player can avoid the death plane and touch the correct checkpoints.
Green Plant Spiral is a track that has always been dominated by custom machines. Aside from one possible exception, every known max speed record on the track has been held by a custom machine using the Titan G4 booster part. Mumu would be the first to set the bar in 2003, with a time of 3 minutes 25.607 seconds, using Pretty Cannon G4. This was before Momentum Throttle had even been discovered. In 2004, the record would be taken by 4 different players, all using different machines. Baba would make the first major cut to a time of 3 minutes and 20 seconds with Photon Cannon G4. Chozo would then break it down to 3 minutes and 18 seconds using Quick Cannon G4, foreshadowing the future for the track. On August 17th, Mumu would reclaim the record using Gallon Star G4. This brought the max speed world record on Spiral to a time of 3 minutes 11.645 seconds, and that is how it remained for the rest of 2004. By the year 2005, the max speed Spiral record would be broken wide open. JK Loser had begun his tear through the game, claiming a majority of the world records on track with a lot of MTS chaining. With Spiral being such a long track, MTS chaining allowed for a huge amount of time saved, especially during the first lap. JKL utilized MTS chaining in the shortcuts to improve the Spiral record by an astonishing 13 seconds, with a time of 2 minutes 58.775 seconds. JK Loser used Quickstar and his impeccable MTS chaining skills to save a ridiculous amount of time throughout the run. The record would eventually go on to a number of other players, all using Quickstar G4 and similar strategies to JKL. On November 1st, 2006, Ioma would come out on top, revealing the legendary new record of 2 minutes 49 seconds. The skill of Ioma was simply unmatched at this time, and his record would stand for the following 8 years and 6 months.
In the year 2015, GX would experience a renaissance period in terms of top-level competition. Many new players were discovering the game, and some were quick to get into GX world record contention. One of these players was an American speedrunner of the name Zachary Z-Wing Ewing. Z-Wing would push the meta for Quickstar G4 by implementing many optimizations to MTS chaining. This usually involved additional MTS throughout the chaining and better execution overall. On June 24, 2015, Z-Wing would claim the world record on Spiral with the time of 2 minutes 49.165 seconds, beating Iowa's time by a fraction of a second. The next entry is probably the most controversial of the bunch, as it raised some questions about the legitimacy of a certain custom machine. This machine is, of course, Quickstar G4. At the time, many players refused to acknowledge Quickstar as a valid way to set times at max speed settings. This is due to a small amount of speed that it gains when performing snaking-like turning motions. Quickstar was never banned from the primary max speed leaderboards, but it was sometimes looked down upon or discredited due to this perceived advantage. Surface Slide is a long, winding track with very few boost plates or pit zones, which lends itself to MTS-heavy machines like Quickstar G4. There is one incredibly sharp turn that is typically handled with an extended quick turn. This is likely what caused some of the concerns about Quickstar's alleged snaking advantage.
The world record for Surface Slide would be passed between a wide variety of players ever since the release of the game. The earliest record we know of is a Big Fang time set during the internet rankings of late 2003. Within those last few months, the record would be improved again by RYD and then Mumu using Stormy Cannon G4, bringing the time down to 1 minute 42.047 seconds. Within the next few months, the record would be taken by a Japanese player named Ace using Black Bull. Mumu would reclaim the record shortly after with Quickstar G4, bringing the record down to 1 minute 37.072 seconds. Shortly after setting this time, Mumu famously vowed to stop using light custom machines such as Quickstar due to the aforementioned advantage it had on some tracks. Mumu would choose Scattle as an alternative, and improve his record to 1 minute 35.780 seconds. On July 6, 2004, the record would be slashed to 1 minute 32.691 seconds by JK Loser. JKL continued to chip away at the record, once again displaying his modernistic MTS chaining skills with Quickstar. JKL eventually settled on a time of 1 minute 26.513 seconds, setting the bar incredibly high for anyone looking to challenge it. The record would stay with JK Loser until the late months of 2006, when Iowa started dominating the rankings. On October 26, Iowa would improve the record by about half a second, with a time of 1 minute 25.911 seconds. Iowa would get an even faster 1 minute 25 later the same day, and over the next few days, Iowa continued to play the track, which led to a huge improvement, bringing the record down to 1 minute 24.019 seconds.
As mentioned before, 2015 would bring in a plethora of new talent into the world of F-Zero GX. Among those players is one of the best to ever play the game, Super Sonic. Super Sonic was fairly new at the time, but he quickly demonstrated a high level of understanding and execution in F-Zero GX. In May 2015, Super Sonic would claim his first max speed world record on Aerodive, but it was soon reclaimed by CGN only 2 days later. This motivated Sonic's desire to claim a new record even more. This led him to playing Sand Ocean Surface Slide in July of that year. Sonic would opt for the original machine Black Bull, which has an incredible MTSing ability. This makes Black Bull a great alternative to Quickstar on tracks with a lot of MTS chaining. At the time, Black Bull only held a world record on slimline slits and a fast lap record on Twist Road, but players such as Naglaria and Matthew were beginning to show its true potential. Black Bull is much heavier than Quickstar, giving it a number of unique advantages. This includes better speed retention from MTS chaining and much more speed from shift boosting. The attributes of Black Bull would prove to be especially useful on Sand Ocean Surface Slide. On July 14, 2015, Super Sonic would use Black Bull to claim the Surface Slide record with a time of 1 minute 23.586 seconds. This saves almost a half second from Iowa's record set in 2006. Our final entry brings us back to the first runner to be mentioned on this list, Jakester. As mentioned before, Jakester set many long-lasting records with Fat Shark. Due to the nature of Fat Shark, it would truly shine on the numerous pipe tracks in the game. Green Plant Intersection is a very straightforward pipe track which doesn't lend to a whole lot of variety between runs. The track mostly consists of a winding pipe section, followed by an outdoor section that weaves around that very same pipe. Similar to Half Pipe, Intersection features a downslope that can give Fat Shark a shift boost. In fact, the player can do this each time the pipe bends in that way. Getting this shift boost would prove to be even more precise than the example on Half Pipe. It was also much harder to form a consistent setup for the shift boost. The best players at the time were able to perform many consecutive shift boosts throughout the pipe, saving a huge chunk of time. As the pipe begins to open up, some players even perform one last shift boost off the edge of the track. The record for Intersection would be held by a wide variety of players throughout 2004 and 2005. Mumu initially held the record with a time of 2 minutes 2.152 seconds. Mumu famously doesn't utilize any of the pipe shift boosts, but he has somehow still able to set a super fast time. From there, multiple players would take turns holding the record, including Goblin, Foxu, JK Loser, Stiff, and finally Trizzle, who set a time of 1 minute 50 seconds. In June 2006, it was Jakester's turn. She would set a time of 1 minute 49.327 seconds on the 22nd of that month. 2 months later, she was ready to try again. Jakester sets another 1 minute 49 seconds on August 6, and then crushes that a few days later with a new time of 1 minute 47.058 seconds. By 2015, Jakester's Intersection run had stood for a total of 9 years, making it the longest standing max speed world record of all time. Around that time, Brave was well on his way to claiming most of the Fat Shark world records. It was only a matter of time before he would start to work towards the Intersection record. On August 5th, 2015, the 9-year record would finally be updated with a time of 1 minute 46.351 seconds from Brave. Brave carries much more speed throughout the pipe section due to better shift boost timing and perfect execution. That brings us to the end of this chapter, but the story is far from done. I hope you will join me next time on F-Zero GX Time Attack History. Thanks for watching.